Hello everyone, I am Jyoti Bhum, and in this video we are going to discuss about the compaction of soil. So in the previous part, that is compaction of soil part 1, we have discussed about the definition of compaction, what is compaction, the principle of compaction, then the purposes of compacting a soil that we have discussed in the previous video. We have also discussed about the various laboratory compaction test as well as various field compaction test. We have discussed about the difference between the compaction and consolidation also. The next part we are going to continue in this video about the compaction of a soil. So first point we are going to discuss in this second part is the factor affecting compaction. Okay, so the various factors which affect the compacted density are water content of soil, amount of compaction, method of compaction, and type of soil being compacted. So we are going to discuss those factors one by one. So first we will discuss about the water content of a soil. So it has been seen by laboratory experiments that as the water content is increased, the compacted density goes on decreasing till a maximum dry density is achieved, after which further addition of water decreases the density. So when only a relatively small amount of water is present in soil, it is firmly held by the electrical forces at the surface of a soil particles with a high concentration of electrolyte, which prevents the diffuse double layer surrounding the particles from developing fully. So the double layer depression leads to a low interparticle repulsion, and the particles do not move over one another easily when compactive energy is applied, and hence high percentage air voids and low density is achieved. So this increase in water content results in an expansion of double layer and a reduction in the net attractive forces between particles, or in an increased interparticle repulsion, which permits the particles to slide more easily past one another into a more oriented and denser state of packing together, and hence higher density. So after the optimum water content is reached, the air voids approach approximately a constant value, as further increase in water content does not cause any appreciable decrease in them, even though a more orderly arrangement of particles may exist at higher water contents. The total voids due to water and air combination go on increasing with increase of water content beyond the optimum, and hence the dry density of the soils falls. Okay, so here you can see the three various diagrams over here. So first diagram is of a compaction curve of a water content below OMC, second is the water content at OMC, and third is the water content above OMC. So in the first graph we can see as the water content increases, the particles develop larger and larger water films around them, which tend to lubricate the particles and make them easier to be moved about and oriented into a denser configuration. In the second diagram we can see that the density is at the maximum and it does not increase any further, while in the third diagram we can see that the water starts to replace soil particles in the mold and the dry unit weight starts to decrease. Okay, so this is about the first parameter. Next is the amount of compaction. So the amount of compaction greatly affects the maximum dry density and optimum water content or optimum moisture content of a given soil. The effect of increasing the compactive energy results in an increase in the maximum dry density and decrease in the optimum moisture content. However, the increase in maximum dry density does not have a linear relationship with increase of compactive effort. Next is a method of compaction. So the density obtained during compaction for a given soil greatly depends upon the type of compaction or the manner in which the compactive effort is applied. The various variables in this aspect are weight of compacting equipment, the manner of operation such as dynamic or impact, static, kneading or rolling, and the time and area of contact between the compactive element and the soil. So here in the diagram you can see the effect of compactive effort on compaction obtained by the Jodhpur mini compactor test. Next is the type of soil. Okay, so the maximum dry density achieved corresponding to a given compactive energy largely depends on the type of soil. Well-graded coarse-grained soils attain a much higher density and lower optimum moisture content than fine-grained soils, which require more water for lubrication because of the greater specific surface. So here in the diagram we can see, in the first diagram we can see the dry density water content curve, or we can say compaction curve for a range of soil types. In general, the coarse grained soils can have compacted to higher dry densities than fine grained soils. In the case of cohesion-less soils which are devoid of fines, the water content has very little influence on the compacted density. For such soils, the dry density decreases with an increase in the water content in the initial stage of the curve, particularly under a low compactive effect. So this is due to bulking of a sand. So wherein the capillary tension resists the tendency of a soil particles to take a dense state. Or we can say that the capillary tension developed in the sandy soil is not fully counteracted by the compactive effort, and this capillary tension holds the particles in a loose state resisting compactions. So it is interesting to note that the same soil in air dried or oven dried condition achieves greater density under the same compactive effort. The maximum bulking occurs at a water content between 4% to 5%. On further addition of water, the meniscus is destroyed and the soil particles are able to shift to take a closer packing, resulting in increase in a dry density. So the density reaches the maximum value when the cohesion-less soil is fully saturated. On further addition of water, the dry density again decreases. Also, the maximum density attained under full saturation condition is not very much higher than that corresponding to air dried or oven dried condition. Secondly, the attainment of maximum density at full saturation is due to the lubrication action of water, but rather it is due to the reduction of effective pressure between the soil particles by hydrostatic pressure. So such soils do not display a distinct optimum water content. And whenever we see the compaction curve for fat clay, so this diagram shows us a typical compaction curve for a fat clay. So here also we see that there is an initial decrease of dry density at lower water contents. This is the characteristic feature of black cotton soils, highly swelling clays and some fat clays. So the optimum water content for such soils ranges between 20% to 25%. So we have seen the factors affecting the compaction, that is we have discussed about the water content of soil, amount of compaction, method of compaction and type of soil. So now we will discuss about the effect of compaction on soil properties. So the main aim of compacting a soil is to improve some desirable properties of the soil, such as a reduction of compressibility, water absorption and permeability. So increase in a soil strength, bearing capacity, etc. and change in swelling and shrinkage characteristics. However, the effect of compaction on soil properties very much depends on the structure attained by the soil during compaction. So these are the various effects, that is the change in structure of a soil, permeability, shrinkage, swelling, pore pressure, compressibility, stress strain characteristics, shear strength, etc. We will see those one by one. So first we will discuss about the change in a structure of a soil. So the structure of a soil during compaction depends upon one, type of a soil, second, molding water content, and third is the type and amount of compaction. So for the purposes of discussion, let us divide the soil into three types. First is the coarse grain soil with little or no fines, second is composite soils, and third is purely cohesive soils, that is clays. Okay, so the soils for first type, that is the coarse grain soils, maintain a single grain structure at any possible voids ratio of water content. However, the structure of composite soils after being compacted depend upon the relative proportion of coarse particles and fines, and their structure can be a coarse grained skeleton structure or cohesive matrix structure. And in contrast to this, the structure of a compacted clay is complicated. At the same compactive effort, the soil structure becomes increasingly oriented, that is dispersed with increasing water content. So when the compacted dry of optimum, the structure of clay is always flocculated. Okay, here in the diagram we can see two compaction curves for a clay, one at lower compactive effort and the other at the higher compactive effort. So at water content higher than optimum, the soil at points B and D, over here the soils at point B and D of the two curve is more oriented than at point A. However, the structure is more oriented at C than at A. Next is the permeability. Okay, so the following points are noteworthy in case of a permeability. I have listed over here. First is, as the dry density increases due to compaction, the voids go on reducing and hence the permeability goes on decreasing. Second is, for the same density, fine grained samples compacted dry of optimum are more permeable than those compacted wet of optimum. And this is because these solids have flocculated structure when compacted dry of optimum and have dispersed structure when compacted wet of optimum. Third is, for a given voids ratio, greater the size of individual pores, greater is the permeability. And as the compactive effort is increased, the permeability of soil decreases because of the increased dry density and better orientation of particles. Next is shrinkage. So for the same density, soil sample compacted dry of optimum shrink appreciably less than the sample compacted wet of optimum. And this is so because the soil particles having dispersed structure have nearly parallel orientation and can pack more efficiently. Next is the swelling. So a clay soil sample compacted dry of optimum water content has higher water deficiency and more random orientation and hence exert greater swelling pressure and swell to higher water content than the sample of the same density obtained from the wet side compaction. Next is the pore pressure. So the saturated sample of a clay compacted dry of optimum tend to develop substantially lower pore pressure at low strains in undrained shear test than the sample of the same soil of the same density and water content compacted wet of optimum. However, at higher strains, both the samples exhibit the same pore pressure. Next is compressibility. The saturated sample of a clay compacted wet side of optimum is more compressible than another sample of the same soil having the same void ratio, but compacted dry of optimum when the applied pressure is in low pressure range. This is so because the sample compacted dry of optimum has a flocculated structure and requires extra pressure to cause parallel orientation of particles. However, in the high pressure range, a sample compacted dry of optimum is more compressible than the one compacted weight of optimum. Next is stress strain characteristics. So, for a given soil, a sample compacted dry side of optimum has a steeper stress strain curve and hence has a higher modulus of elasticity than the one which is compacted weight of optimum. Okay. So, in the diagram we can see that at the same density, the soil compacted weight of optimum have brittle failure while soil compacted weight of optimum and having dispersed structure continue to increase in strength even at higher strengths. And when we see about the shear strength of compacted clays depends upon dry density, molding water content, soil structure, method of compaction and strain used to define strength, drainage condition and type of soil. Okay, so in general, at low strains, strength of cohesive soils compacted dry of optimum is higher than those compacted weight of optimum. So in the diagram, we can see that the failure envelope for two samples of the same soil, one compacted dry of optimum and the other compacted weight of optimum, but both compacted at the same density. However, of higher strains, the flocculated structure of the same compacted on the dry side is broken, giving rise to ultimate strength for both the samples. The manner of compaction also influences the strength of a soil sample's compacted weight of optimum. It is interesting to note that the clay cores in earth dams are usually compacted weight of optimum to tolerate large settlements without cracking. Now we have discussed about the effect of compaction on soil properties. In that we have discussed about the change in structure of soil, permeability, shrinkage, swelling, pore pressure, compressibility, stress strain characteristics and shear strength. Now we will see what is placement water content. So the water content used in the filled compaction is called the placement water content, which may be equal to or lower than or higher than the optimum water content determined in the laboratory. The cohesive subgrades under pavement should preferably be compacted weight of optimum so that they may not exhibit a large expansions and swelling pressure on submergence. Highway embankments on cohesive soils should be compacted somewhat dry of optimum in order to achieve high strength and resistance to deformation at low volume compressibility. High earth dams should be compacted at a placement water content 1 to 2.5% less than the optimum to reduce the probability of the development of high pore pressure. However, the impervious cores of the earth dams should desirably be compacted on the wet side of the optimum in order to achieve low permeability and greater safety against the cracking due to differential settlement or other causes. For a given soil, the laboratory optimum water content and the field optimum water content may differ depending upon the type of compaction equipment used. Next, we are going to discuss about the field compaction control. Okay, so the field compaction control consists of determination of water content at which the soil has been compacted and the dry density, and hence the degree of compaction is achieved. So for proper compaction control, as the work progresses, rapid methods of testing must be used. The rapid determination of water content can be done by two methods. First one is the calcium carbide method and the second one is the Proctor needle method. That is the second method. And the second method, that is the Proctor needle method, is the commonly used in the field. Okay, so the Proctor needle consists of a needle point attached to a graduated needle shank, which in turn is attached to a spring loaded plunger. Over here in this diagram you can see the needle point of varying cross sectional area are available so that the wide range of penetration resistance can be measured. The penetration force is read on a loaded gauge fixed over the handle. To use the needle in the field, a calibration curve, here you can see to this side, this is the calibration curve. Okay, this is the compaction curve and this is the calibration curve. Okay, so to use this needle in the field, a calibration curve is plotted in the laboratory between the penetration resistance as the ordinate and the water content as the abscissa. To this side you can see. Okay. The laboratory penetration resistance is measured by inserting a Proctor needle in the compacted soil in the Proctor mold. Okay, so the penetration resistance corresponding to various water contents are thus noted at the end of each Proctor compaction and the calibration curve is plotted. So this curve may be used to determine the placement water content. The penetration resistance of the compacted soil in the field is determined with the Proctor's needle and its water content is read off from the calibration curve. So the bulk density of the compacted soil in the field can be determined by any of the methods described previously. The degree of compaction obtained in the field is measured by the relative compaction, or as per the compaction, which is defined as the ratio expressed as a percentage of a field dry density to a maximum density obtained in a laboratory compaction test. In free draining cohesionless soils, the degree of compaction is sometimes expressed in terms of density index, particularly in earth dam construction. So this is all about the compaction of a soil. Totally we have seen the various points in the compaction of a soil. We have seen the what is compaction of soil, what are the different purposes of compacting a soil, principles of compaction, compaction curve. Then we have seen the difference between compaction and consolidation. We have seen the various laboratory and field compaction tests. Also, then we have discussed various factors affecting the compaction. Then we have discussed the effect of compaction on the soil, different soil properties. Then we have seen the term placement water content, and also we have discussed about the field compaction control. Okay, so this is all about the compaction of a soil. I have given the link of compaction of a soil part 1 in the description box below. You can go through it, and if you like the content of this video, you can subscribe to my channel and you can share this video with your friends. Thank you.